My name is Allie, and my dad's job has led to panic attacks, detentions, and my own horrible breakup. Most people get to grow up in cute little houses with white picket fences, but I kind of grew up in the polar opposite of that. My house was beside a cemetery in some deep, dark woods. And, oh yeah, it was full of dead bodies. My family has run a funeral home for generations, and I've loved it since I was a little kid. My dad is a single dad, but he was always able to be around because he worked out of the home. I mean, sure, he was preserving dead bodies and putting makeup on them, but he was home. And honestly, his work didn't freak me out. It fascinated me. I'm much more comfortable with death than most people. I know it's sad and tragic, but it's part of life. And I'm okay with that. I got to see how my dad comforted the families of people who had passed, and I thought he was a hero for it. While most girls wanted to be doctors or astronauts or princesses, I wanted to do what my dad does. He taught me how to prepare the dead bodies and all the kind of gross stuff that entails. I was homeschooled until I was in 6th grade, and then I finally started with everyone else. I was so excited. I was nervous people might be weird towards me because I was the new girl, but instead, they were excited about me. A few girls even told me they wanted to hang out. I invited them over for a sleepover at the end of the week, my first ever sleepover. I was stocked up on candy and laid out comfy beds for everyone. I even convinced my dad to buy me new pajamas. When everyone showed up, they were a little creeped out. But one of them, Mia, actually thought it was super cool that I lived in a funeral home. We got to work playing games and eating our weight in pizza. But when night fell, things started getting spooky. We went and played hide and seek downstairs, where the morgue and funeral home were. The girls started talking about how creepy it was that I lived here, and I just kinda shrugged. Unfortunately, while we were playing, this girl named Polly ran into the morgue and started screaming her head off about there being dead bodies in there. I could tell she was freaked out, but I just reassured her that was okay. Then, Mia took a Ouija board out of her backpack. We started playing with it, trying to talk to ghosts. The pointer started moving, and we asked if we were talking to the person that was in the morgue. When the pointer moved to yes, most of us girls just giggled and screamed. But not Polly. Polly started losing her mind, having a panic attack. She was hyperventilating so hard, she could barely breathe. When her mom came to pick her up, she put Polly in the car and then started screaming at my dad. She said it was inappropriate for me to invite people over to my weird house, and that raising a kid in a funeral home was irresponsible and stupid. She even told him that I was going to be messed up because he raised me in such an environment. I felt tears stinging my eyes. I tried to go back to the party to have fun, but honestly, I was kind of numb. I had always admired my dad's job, and now people were telling me it was messing me up. When I went back to school, Polly wouldn't even look at me. Everyone found out about my dad's job, and some people wouldn't even talk to me. There were rumors that I was haunted by ghosts. I thought it was all immature, but I tried not to let it bother me too much. In class one day, someone started asking me about what we do with the dead bodies. I was excited someone was interested, so I started explaining the whole process. Some people in the class looked like they wanted to throw up. When the teacher heard what I was saying, she sent me to the principal's office and gave me detention for being inappropriate. For the rest of the year, that teacher treated me like I was a troublemaker. I didn't understand what was so wrong about a totally normal career, but from that point forward, people treated me really weird, like I had an infection I was going to spread to them or something. In 8th grade, we had the career fair. We had to do a presentation on what career we wanted, and of course, I said I wanted to work in a mortuary like my dad. I had a ton of facts about the financial aspects, the process, the education. Honestly, it was an A+ presentation. But to my surprise, the teacher told me afterwards I should look for a more normal career. I told him this was what I wanted to do, and he promised me I'd change my mind when I got out of my goth phase. It felt so patronizing. Even with all that crap, I still wanted to work in a mortuary. In high school, I studied hard just to make my dad happy, but I already knew what my career would be when I graduated. In fact, I started working with my dad for real when I turned 15. I got the job of preserving the bodies for open casket funerals. That meant I got to put makeup on them, do their hair, and generally make them look nice. I know it sounds creepy, but I enjoyed the work a lot. I stopped talking about my career at school, and around that time, I met Eric. Eric was a senior, and he was cute as heck. I felt so lucky to have him in my life. He knew what my dad's career was, and he wasn't too weird about it. For once, I felt kind of normal. It was the happiest period of my life. That is, until Eric came to pick me up one day while I was working. I was doing the finishing touches on a dead body when he stepped into the room. His face turned green and he backed away in horror. When I changed and washed my hands to go on a date with him, he wouldn't let me in the car. He told me my job was disgusting and it grossed him out. He said I must not have normal emotions if I could work on dead bodies without crying, and then he told me he couldn't date a sociopath. I watched him drive away with tears in my eyes. For my whole life, my dream had been a deal breaker. For the first time, I really thought everyone else must be right. Maybe there was something wrong with me. That night, I told my dad I was going to get a fast food job like a normal teenager. I decided I'd go to school to be a nurse or something. My dad was upset and tried to talk me out of it, but I didn't listen. I started working at a burger place, and honestly, I hated it. I kept trying to convince myself that it would help me be normal and that soon I could go to school for something cooler. This went on for a few months. My dad missed me working with him, but I didn't budge. Everything was going back to normal, and some of my coworkers even wanted to be friends. But still, I felt numb. I felt like I was lying to myself. But then, Chrissy, our cross-country star, died in a car accident. The whole town was devastated. Naturally, her body came to our house to be taken care of. My dad worked on her and asked if I wanted to help, but I told him no. If my classmates found out I worked on someone they knew, my life would be over. When the funeral happened, I stood in attendance. I saw a sea of my classmates crying, and I started to cry too. When Chrissy's parents walked up to the open casket, they actually smiled when they looked down. They walked over and hugged my dad, thanking him for letting them see their beautiful daughter one more time. It will help us heal having that image of her. In that moment, I realized how important my dad's job really is. In that moment, I wasn't ashamed anymore. I wanted to do his job, not because it was easy or not gross, but because it was vital and helped people. Now I'm working with my dad again. I can't let other people determine what my dream is, and I don't want to be around people who don't understand me anyway.